As the debate regarding illegal immigration continues in the United States, there are more and more congregations, liberal congregations, that are trying to save people from being deported. In fact, dozens of congregations in as many as 12 states are offering refuge in their churches in order to make sure that these people don't get deported in what they consider an unlawful way. Now, what happens is if you are living in a church, authorities are unable to deport you. There's this weird loophole. So these congregations are trying to help out. Well, there's a pastor who's actually enraged by this, Pastor Robert Jeffress. And here's what he has to say. Take a look.
Look, a lot of these liberal churches that harbor illegal immigrants who are criminals say they're following the example of Jesus. The only problem is they're following the Jesus of their imagination rather than the Jesus of the Bible. Look, Jesus was not this wimpy little guy who walked around munching sunflower seeds and saying nice things to people. The real Jesus of the Bible said, "Render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's." That is, obey the government.
Okay. I love so many parts of this, including now we have Republicans, pastors on Fox News talking about how you must bow your head and obey the government. What happened?
It's amazing.
I thought you guys were against the government. I thought, oh no, we want small government.
Not only that, they're against taxes. And there is a portion of the Bible that he used in his argument that implies that these people did not, in Jesus' days, right? These people did not want to pay taxes to Rome. And so they asked Jesus, what should we do? And Jesus told them, well, you got to pay your taxes. At least that's the way he made the story seem. That's not the reality of it. We'll get to it in a second. So basically he's making a point. Well, Jesus said, pay your taxes. This is a conservative Republican who probably despises taxes. Right?
Yeah, but all of a sudden you want to make that point and it's convenient. You're like, oh, yeah, Jesus, pro-government, pro-taxes.
We like taxes.
Okay, interesting. We didn't know that you were on that side.
Amazing. Now, there was another religious individual who looked into this and was like, oh, no. He got the story wrong. Okay, so let me give you an example. So Jeffress was referring to a Bible story in which critics of Jesus asked him if he was right to pay taxes to the Roman government, which controlled Israel at the time. Jesus asked for a coin and, pointing out that Caesar's face was imprinted on it, said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. Now, as the religious expert said in this context, Jesus' statement was a critique of Rome's imperial system and its claim that Caesar was a deity. Jesus was essentially saying that government was not God.
So now Jeffress takes that and twists it. So he's like, well, you see that? Jesus loved the government. And so he said, if the government, cracks down on undocumented immigrants, well, then, that's awesome. And Jesus would have been in favor, but he would have rounded them up. Oh, come on. Who can possibly believe that? All right, I got great quotes for you in a second from the Bible itself. But let's talk a little further about that saying, right? Now, I'm not sure I agree with the second religious scholar either. It just seems to be like, hey, don't mess around with Caesar, okay? Right. If he wants your taxes, pay your taxes, just pay him, right?
But just know he's not a deity, okay? Yeah. That's all you need to know.
But this guy turns it around and says that he's implying that Jesus was pro-Caesar and hence pro the Roman government. That's why you should listen to the government in terms of going after immigrants. That's the same Roman government that crucified him. And on Fox News, they turn it around and like, oh, no, Jesus loved that Roman government. How could you make that claim? They crucified him, right? These guys are unbelievable. And then did you notice the thing that he threw in the middle there? Jesus is not this wimpy, granola hippie guy,
He's not eating the sunflower seeds.
No, he's not eating the sunflower. He's a badass. Okay, this time you don't crucify me, I crucify you. Here comes Jesus' return. Jesus coming with an AK-47.
There's actually some documentation that he ate beef jerky, not sunflower seeds. So he's a real American, right? Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't be surprised if they said something that ignorant on the show.
You know what Jesus liked? NASCAR. Okay. All right. Now, finally, let me read you actual quotes from the Bible. Deuteronomy 15:11. For there will never cease to be poor in the land. Therefore, I command you, you shall open wide your hand to your brother, to the needy, and to the poor in your land. Okay?
That's a very inconvenient Bible verse, Cenk. Don't bring up the inconvenient stuff.
the needy in your land, open your arms to them. Don't close your fist to them, open your arms to them. That's what the churches are doing now. And he's trying to fight against the churches. One more, Luke 12, 33, 34. Sell your possessions and give to the needy. Provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that does not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Now, has Pastor Jeffress told his flock to sell all their worldly possessions and give it to the needy in their land? It doesn't appear so. If you're not convinced, I give you this final piece of evidence. Let me show you the first undocumented immigrant. Moses. I mean, look, they put up a whole sea to keep him out. Okay, and that didn't work either.
He parted that shit.
That's right. And whether they liked it or not, he was coming. He did not have papers, but I'm pretty sure the Bible was on his side. Could you imagine he gets to Israel after 40 years in the desert? They're like, papers?
Yeah.
He's like, are you kidding me, man?
By the way, I just want to add one thing to this. It's just interesting to see that certain groups of people in this country, those who like to preach about morality the most, use their same religious doctrine in order to divide us. They're the same people that use religious doctrine. They ignore the inconvenient parts that Cenk just mentioned right now, but they use that Bible in order to justify their hatred for certain groups of people. It's disgusting, right? Like, by the way, and let's say, you know, we want to have an actual conversation about undocumented immigrants, illegal immigration, whatever it is. I don't care what your Bible has to say about it. You know what I care about? Common sense and policies that work, right? Your Bible can be the most clear, consistent thing on the planet, which, by the way, it isn't, and I still don't care what it has to say about illegal immigration.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, look, if you want to quote the Bible, we'll quote the Bible, but it's not relevant.